Hello, welcome back to Talkin' Giants, presented by the Fanatics Sportsbook. It is March 31st, 2026, and we are just one day away from draft month. And this football team is hopefully going to get that much better, and we're going to get one step closer to actually seeing them on the football field. Shaun, we're going to talk a little bit about the John Harbaugh presser down at the owners' meetings, a little bit of Joe Schoen, and then we have a special Fanatics Fivo that's curated by you. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Justin. Excited for draft month. Obviously excited because, in my opinion, March, one of the worst months overall. It's a big tease. Hopefully we get cooking in spring. And I'm also just excited to work with, quite frankly, a Netflix celebrity. I mean, along the lines of Jason Bateman and Ozark is Justin Pennick in the 7th inning stretch of opening night of Major League Baseball. So congrats, and thanks for alerting us all in the last episode that we should be looking out for you.
Thank you. I had no clue that was going to come up. And actually, they made a shirt. I don't know if you could see it. I'll zoom in on it. They made a shirt for me that says famous Netflix actor.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
So it should be here in the office within the next day or two. So that was crazy. And I'll tell you what, there are people around this office that tell me I look good with long hair, that I look good with the beard long. I looked like crap.
I agree.
I agree. Horrible.
So much so, Justin. I swear to you, I'm locked in. I'm a Yankee fan. And I had my issues with that broadcast, and that's not for this podcast.
Yeah,
but when
you had things to say.
When you showed up with the 7th inning stretch, I didn't know you were going to be on. And I immediately went right to the Twitter. And I looked down for a second, and I missed you. And all of a sudden, I got 2 texts in a row. I'm not going to out one person. Jordan Renan texted me right away. Goes, was that Pennick? I go, what are you talking about? And then immediately it was my sister texted me. Goes, I think Justin was just on. I'm like, what? And I rewound. I found you. And then obviously what Jimmy and Jake and those guys did was so funny, their reaction to it. But I agree. I looked back and I'm like, he's barely recognizable with that beard right now.
I looked like I haven't left my house in a month. That's what that looked like.
Amazing.
It was incredible. And then I sat for 5.5 hours. Yeah, this was my weekend. I sat for 5.5 hours on Thursday. I streamed for a total of 10 hours. I stayed at the office. I didn't have to stream for 10 hours. I stayed at the office overnight because I had a flight at 7 a.m. down to Coastal Carolina. So I left the office at 3:30 a.m. Friday morning because I didn't know what the TSA situation was. I go down and I commentate, and I was invited to call the flag football game between BDGE and Snapback Sports at Coastal Carolina right after their spring game. I did that Friday night, came back Saturday afternoon.
Unbelievable. You've been all over the place.
And I was a Netflix star, and that's how it all started.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I'm excited, and now I know you actually have a good old-timey take me out to the ball game voice. Didn't see that coming. So hopefully that's a good harbinger of the John Harbaugh era here with the Giants. Unhidden
signature
talent.
of mine.
I love it.
All right, well, let's talk about the John Harbaugh presser. You say it as a take me out to the ball game. All right. So here's a couple things that Harbaugh kind of said. All right. I think does any of this fully matter? Probably not, but we're going to react to it. Mm-hmm. The Giants have needs, and that may impact how they operate come April. Here's the actual quote. You don't want to go to the buffet table hungry, right? I have a huge problem with that.
I agree, too. What's the point of going to a buffet if you're not going hungry?
I know this is a coachism. This is a coachism speak. Like, he is so good. Like, he'll quote whoever, like George Patton, like just
whatever he did today. He stumbled over the RFK Jr. quote.
Whatever 60-year-old's quote is what John Harbaugh quotes. And then also mix in a lifer football coach, okay?
Yeah.
You don't want to go to the buffet table hungry, right? Disagree. Okay. But he says, I think we're in good position, and we don't have to chase any specific need. But at the same time, we understand that we still have needs. So that's going to be a factor. It's definitely going to be a factor in what we do. So, moral of the story is John Harbaugh basically is seemingly saying that the Giants' needs may impact what they do probably in the draft.
Yeah, I think that was one of those quotes where I think John Harbaugh likes the idea of not having needs going into the draft, thinks they're close to having that, but kind of understands the reality that they're not there yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, perfect example. They get away, like we talked about with Newsome at corner for a year, and you don't need a corner. Okay, sure. But the truth is, they still don't have a true starting right guard on the roster. D tackle's a mess. Not that you're taking those in the first round either. And he may not even talk about the first round. They're still going to the draft hungry. There is going to inevitably be a round 1, 2, 4 where a need is taken over necessarily the best player when weighing comparison. The Giants aren't there.
And I agree with that, by the way. Like, I agree with that general philosophy of, you kind of, but you want need and value to marry themselves.
Correct.
Especially in the first 2 rounds when you're in the top 100, right? So I don't have a problem with what Harbaugh said there. It's just the general philosophy of repeating what they did in 2022 and 2023. Even hearing it gives me a little PTSD because the mistakes that they made those first 2 years of just solely like checking off a box of, okay, we got our safety here, we got our cornerback here, we
got our center here.
We got our Josh ezeudu here.
Yep.
Like that, do not repeat that. That's the ask.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. But he didn't say anything in that quote to me that was necessarily revealing one way or another regarding the draft.
No. Just, again, don't do that. We want to have the best trenches in the league, but it's going to be done on our terms, and it's a work in progress.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding, it's a work in progress. We still remain without a defensive tackle and a right guard.
Yeah. I like what he said about stopping the run, and shout out to Pat Leonard for actually including like the full 29-minute sit-down that he did with reporters. Stopping the run means that we play on our terms. And he was talking about like allowing explosive plays. And I didn't necessarily think this was John Harbaugh saying that stopping the run is more important than preventing the explosive pass play. But the example that he brought up is when T. Higgins or Jamar Chase just makes this insane, awesome catch that for a 25-yard gain on the sideline. Sometimes all you can do is just throw your hands up in the air and say, you know what, man? You move on to the next play. And I think you see that often, right? I am a huge believer on you want to stop the explosive pass play, and I would rather allow like runs of 4+ yards consistently than pass plays of 15+ yards on a consistent basis, because I have the theory that NFL offenses are eventually going to run out of gas if they run a lot of plays, but you don't run out of gas when you get explosive plays back to back to back, right? So I understood his point there. Stopping the run means that we play on our terms. That's what I really like hearing when it comes to we got to do our job on first down, on second down, on these rushing downs.
Right.
So then the pass rushers, the strength of this team, these guys can put their hand in the dirt and just go after the passer, go after the quarterback. If we're handling our own duties and creating these long passing downs.
Right. 3rd and 8, let's go.
We're only going to put the defense in that much of a better situation to get after the quarterbacks. So that means stopping the run means that we play on our terms. That's what I thought that Harbaugh was saying, and it makes total sense. And I think it's kind of what the Baltimore Ravens have done for a long time. Besides, they haven't really gotten after the quarterback, but they didn't have the personnel to get after the quarterback. They very much have the personnel to get after the quarterback here.
Yeah, no doubt. You know how else you stop the run and play at your terms and get to there too? Take Sonny Styles if he's there at 5.
Ooh.
More on that later.
That's the favorite of you right now?
Oh, if we're being real, again, not doing 2nd, 3rd round homework and how this like materializes down. My favorite player, period, in the draft that I think would be awesome in the Giants is Caleb Downs. But if I'm being honest in terms of 5 and what I think the Giants meshing that strength and weakness, I think Sonny Styles is actually like perhaps the biggest can't miss in the draft. I really do think that. I could make a case.
Between those two.
Yeah.
I'm between Styles and Downs right now. That's what I'm between.
And either one, I'm head over heels that the Giants have added that layer to their defense. Either way.
Yeah. We'll probably play our guys in the preseason a little bit. Most of the guys, not everybody. Plus, they're going to look to have some joint practices, anywhere between 1 to 2.
Okay. Now, it's funny. I mean, is that going to be just in West Virginia when they come back? Remember this about John Harbaugh and playing guys in the preseason. The Ravens had that like forever long win streak in the preseason. Like he does play some of those games to win, albeit with a lot of backups. Remember, they don't lose like preseason games. Like Harbaugh plays the preseason.
Dable did pretty well in the preseason too, I will say.
He did. He did, except for that, what was it, 2 years ago where he didn't have the O-line basically play a snap into the last game? Do you remember that? And we were like, isn't the point about continuity here? But either way.
It also doesn't hurt that the Giants had arguably the most insane 4 quarterbacks last year in like Tommy DeVito being their number 4 quarterback when he's actually like won NFL games. Like Tommy DeVito steps foot in an NFL game, in an NFL preseason game in the 3rd and the 4th quarter. And that's kind of like even unfair.
Yeah. Well, remember the Giants went undefeated in the preseason. You think that wasn't a part of it?
That's cool. John Harbaugh was asked about Odell Beckham Jr., and I, of course, entered into the online debate about him again. Odell Beckham Jr., this is what he said, because, of course, he was asked about it, because everybody's just obsessed and we can't stop talking about it.
Asked by who, by
we
the way?
maintained... Who was Pat?
Yeah, it was Pat.
Oh,
Pat's already writing his next story, let's be honest.
Listen, it gets a reaction, so I don't blame people.
I know, I'm just
We have to stop reacting to it.
Of course it was
We'll
Pat.
probably play... Oh, no, wrong quote. This is what he said about Odell. We've maintained a really great relationship. He's one of my favorite people in the world. On a possible Giants reunion, the obvious Pat answer would be you look at every option. You look at every option. But we've maintained a really great relationship.
Okay, if you have this great a relationship and you've looked at every option and you considered him an option pre-camp, I think he would have been signed by now. That's the way I interpret it.
So over it. This is a 33-year-old guy that has not been involved in an NFL team that played since 2023. He has 45 catches over the last combined 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
There are serious people that are trying to tell me that despite him not playing, despite him being a complete injury-prone player now at 33 years old, probably is going to turn 34 in the middle of this season, there are people that are online trying to tell me that Darius Slayton is a worse football player than Odell Beckham Jr. at this point in their careers. You would not... maybe you would rather see Odell Beckham Jr. than Darius Slayton because you're wrong and because you just hate Darius Slayton that much.
I think it's just about drop passes when you make that quote, but we also forget how the Giants lost that 2016 playoff game. So
this is not 2015.
I know. I'm with you. Believe me, I'm with you.
Stop obsessing over this dude.
Yeah. And if it's about Jalen Hyatt, remember you should do better than Jalen Hyatt and Odell for that spot. And they have added Calvin Austin and Mooney.
People were bringing up Jalen Hyatt like I was defending him being on the roster.
Yeah.
Jalen Hyatt doesn't exist.
Right.
Jalen Hyatt doesn't exist in my brain.
There are 3 people I know that I don't want wearing 13 on the Giants roster this year. Jalen Hyatt, David Sills, and Odell Beckham Jr. Just give it to somebody else, and let's bring somebody else in.
What's the harm? There is no harm. There is no harm, realistically. But the attention it would bring, the eyeballs it would bring, I don't want my wide receiver 4. There's no need for my wide receiver 4 bringing that kind of attention in there. And guess what? This dude, you put him in locker rooms, something happens.
Yep.
Something happens to locker rooms when you put him in there. And I want, again, my wide receiver 4, let's avoid that.
Yeah, and I'd also, wide receiver 4, play some special teams. How about that?
Okay, so I got very mad. Jordan tweeted it out, the whole quote, and I quote tweeted it, yawn. And then people got mad at me.
Well, you reacted. You're part of the problem. Every reporter knows when they tweet that out, the reason to tweet. Now they know it's going to get run. They're not idiots. We're not idiots. We get it.
Quote that I love the most, and kind of echoing what he said during his opening presser. Setting a standard for winning. Our expectation is going to be every game we go into to win. Every single game. We're going to plan on going in to win that game. I'm pretty sure if we win every game, we're going to make the playoffs, right? If my math is right. Even though, every single team, Shaun, right? Every single team, every single year, we expect to win. We want to win. But I think talking about winning, not shying away from talking about winning as an expectation and winning as a standard, I think seemingly just talking about it and not just recognizing that it's there in the corner, and that's of course our goal is to win. But saying it flat out, that's a change that I like heading into the season.
I agree too, because that permeate. Man, this is a bad day for words for me. Permeates throughout the walls of a room. That is the opposite of the disease of losing, Justin. It all has to start, like that attitude has to be infused every practice, every game, preseason rep, all of that. So I do appreciate that. Even if it sounds like coach speaking corny, guess what? This giant team in this locker room needs an infusion of that.
All right, before we get back to the show, I got to talk to you about the Fanatics Sportsbook. They are the new presenting sponsor of Talking Giants. I'm really thankful for them. And, of course, you may have heard that, of course, Fanatics does apparel, but now they're changing the game for sports betting with the Fanatics Sportsbook. Football season might be over, but the action, of course, doesn't stop there. There's plenty to get in on all year long with nonstop opportunities to jump in and make every single game matter. Every time you place a bet, you're earning FanCash up to 10% back on your bets, win or lose. FanCash is Fanatics' signature currency. Use it on profit boots, exclusive experiences, official team gear at Fanatics.com, and even more. And Fridays, they're going to hit different. Every Friday is FanCash Friday, which means FanCash drops a free two-play game right inside the app where you could score up to $10,000 in FanCash. Even better, 1 in every 4 players wins FanCash. Bet, earn, and win with Fanatics Sportsbook. Winning hits different here. Download the Fanatics Sportsbook app today and use promo code JOHNBOY. Must be 21 years old. A gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgambling.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app. Thank you, Fanatics. Now back to the show. And anything on Joe Schoen? I didn't really get a chance to see much of what Joe
Schoen gave you the typical Joe Schoen stuff. Like they commented on Jeremiyah Love. I know we're going to talk about that a little bit and how the team's in a better space. I actually think you're missing one more from Harbaugh that I thought was maybe the best thing he said. Can I just bring that up real quick?
Please.
So Harbaugh was asked about the Evan Neal, Josh ezeudu returns. Did you see this quote? We played it on Evan and Tiki.
Oh, we all have dreams.
Well, it was more than that. In terms of, and you know me, I thought this was a big waste of space and waste of time. I just thought within the quote was something important. So basically, Evan Neal and Josh ezeudu get to sit down with John Harbaugh. They spoke to him. They sold them on their reclamation projects. And Harbaugh, for lesser or worse, said, okay, go prove it here. If you're going to prove it anywhere, you might as well prove it here with the place that drafted you. I don't think they will prove it, but I do at least appreciate Harbaugh's explanation for what he saw in those guys and how he previously had scouted them with the Ravens. So it at least gave me a better understanding from Harbaugh on what he's expecting from those two. And I guess I'll live with that. And I found that to be interesting at least because we had some kind of answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what... Does ezeudu have any guarantees in his contract? I know Neal doesn't have any guarantees in his. I can imagine ezeudu doesn't.
I don't think he did.
ezeudu, I honestly think there are times where ezeudu has like just performed. ezeudu's performed better at guard than Evan Neal has at tackle, in my opinion. So ezeudu's kind of like fine. You know,
I was going to say that the issue with ezeudu is that he should have just been a guard for 4 years, Justin.
Yeah.
They played him at tackle. What did that do? Like, you sunk and faded him back. We never got to see the development at guard because you kept moving him to tackle.
Yeah. No, but maybe for Evan Neal, maybe, right? Like, one of the main problems I have with Evan Neal is seemingly there are questions about his effort. There are questions about his work ethic, especially when it comes to working your way back from injuries, right? You know, I heard some rumors about getting fined for weight issues as the years have gone on too. So that's the stuff more than, all right, you know, maybe sometimes stuff just doesn't work out. And you have one issue of balance, and then that has defined your NFL career. But if you're not willing to work hard and get better, like that's on you. And that's the stuff that bothers me. So ezeudu, again, I think is a different story of a guy that maybe should have never been taken with the 75th pick in the NFL draft to begin with. Maybe should have just been a day 3 guy. That's how some people maybe had him graded to begin with. So he's a different story altogether. But Evan Neal, like if you're not going to, you know, if he's pitching a vision for himself that he's going to grind his ass off and work harder and knows that this is legitimately like his last shot to have some sort of presence in the NFL, then all right, let's see it during training camp. Right. And if it turns out to be a nothing, as soon as the pads came on for Evan Neal, it was a flat out nothing. He looked great in shorts, and we're all talking about, oh, Evan Neal looks great doing this and looks great doing that. The second the pads came on and the second that he got involved in a preseason game, it was bad. So
exactly. And he certainly didn't leave there thinking he wouldn't be cut. But that's it.
We'll see. All right, so anything with Joe Schoen?
So again, not really. He did just comment that the Giants are in a better place than they were when the Saquon Barkley free agency stuff happened to absorb like a big running back contract, which obviously to an extent would be the case if you took Jeremiyah Love at 5. And outside of that, he did the same song and dance about, well, the Giants are tied up with money right now. Yeah, they have a little more wiggle room to work with, but not much. I guess trying to send a message to agents if you're an agent of a defensive tackle like, I don't know, Shelby Harris or an offensive lineman like Greg Van Roten. Stop trying to milk us for extra
Shelby
money.
Harris, I believe. Shelby Harris off the board.
Did he sign after visiting? I missed this.
He's
Are you breaking news to me? Okay.
No, I'm not.
I was going to say, he came in Friday. He signed somewhere this weekend? No way.
No.
Okay. Well, that's a good moment for the show, Justin. At least we've addressed that. But yeah, other than that, typical. It's so good and so refreshing now to feel like you need to take more out of John Harbaugh than Joe Schoen. Like I went through the Joe Schoen quotes quick and I was like, all right. And in the end, I kind of felt like, well, who really cares what else he's adding to the table here? We got everything from Harbaugh.
Yeah. And he's also been pretty good at not giving all that much as the last couple years have kind of gone on, especially when it comes to the draft. Like he usually doesn't give that much. He's boring.
Justin, let's remember, we also got video evidence on Hard Knocks of Dion and PR sitting him down and saying, this is exactly what's going to be asked. Here's how we rehearse the answers. And
it was great. Yeah, it was great.
And I have no problem with that, but I also can't shake that image when hearing Joe Schoen speak because I know you just got a pep talk of what you're not going to tell everybody.
Yeah. No, it's good.
No, it
Don't
is.
tell us anything. All right, are you ready?
Are we ready for Cinco? Is this what we're going to do? Fanatics 5-0? Are we ready? All right.
Are we ready for Fanatics 5-0? So we're going to have a special Fanatics 5-0 segment. We're excited to announce that today's episode and today's segment of Fanatics 5-0 is going to be presented by the Fanatics Sportsbook. So, Shaun, introduce this. What are we doing today?
All right, so here's the deal. As I said at the beginning of this show, it is the final show for Justin and I and for Talking Giants in the month of March. Month of April, we all know, big week, big month, it's draft month. So rather than react, as we will anyway, we're going to be proactive. The 5 debates Giants fans will no doubt have this April. Here we go. Number 5, Mansoor Delane, the cornerback out of LSU. The Giants pick 5th overall. The Giants have a need at corner. He seemingly is the best outside corner available. The debate Giants fans will have is pick number 5 too early to take Mansoor Delane, and are we just reaching for need? Justin, let's have a mini debate about that.
Yeah, where are you out on Delane? So I watched him. I have a good amount of notes on him. Not a tough player to get a read on. I'll let you know what's tough about this. Side tangent.
Okay, give it to me.
Side tangent. Delane is a really good player and a good prospect, right? So is Caleb Downs. So is Sonny Styles. So is even the guys at the top, like Ruben Bain, Carnell Tate. I typically hate when draft analysts say this. Oh, it's a weak top end of the draft, and it's a bad draft to have a top 5 pick. Shaun, I'm going to say something.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're right. I think this is a bad draft to have a top 5 pick.
Okay. Now, by that, you just mean, look, you could certainly get starting level players here, but the amount of guys who probably project as slam dunk Hall of Fame types is just not there at the top of the board.
Forget Hall of Fame slam dunk, like how you project their careers, but just slam dunk prospects. Like if you're talking about taking a corner top 5, I want him to be a Sauce Gardner type of prospect where it's like, man, I just can't find a hole. I can't find a hole in your game and a hole like in terms of you as a prospect, right? Carnell Tate at the top. Not a Marv type of prospect, not even a Malik Neighbors type of prospect. Like that's kind of the bar when you're talking about wanting to take receivers in the top 5. Ruben Bain, top of the class in terms of an edge rusher. not really the kind of like Aiden Hutchinson type of prospect that you want. Like there's major holes and there's major flaws with the arm length conversation. Right. And we're talking about Ruben Bain possibly being a top 2, top 3 player, right?
Although I think he's falling. I think Arvell Reese will go too, but I understand your point.
And Arvell Reese has like 100 snaps of experience as an edge rusher. Right. We're talking about drafting him top 5 to be an edge rusher when he barely has any experience and he's super, super small. This is not the best class to have a top 5 pick. Now, nevertheless, doesn't mean that I hate all these players and I don't want to take them. I'm just kind of watching these guys and be like, man, we're picking 5, and if we're going to stay at 5, these players are not as slam dunk as some of the other prospects that have come out in previous years. And you think, man, like I'm just super pumped up about this guy and his future, and I think he's going to hit the ground running.
Okay, so I sort of agree with you, which is going to lead me to my next counterpoint, which is kind of something I've felt and I've debated the last couple years with the draft. We overreact to value depending on where you pick, I think, too much in the NFL draft at times. And for instance, what I mean by that is I understand that when you pick top 5, it's different than having the 15th or 16th pick in the draft. Clearly, right? You were bad enough. You should have an impact player that helps change your organization. I understand that. But at what point do you start drawing the line depending on the draft where you get to the 5th pick, let's say where the Giants are, and you look at guys and you go, man, corner for us is a much bigger need than, running back or whatever. And I really like Delane, but he might be the 10th or 11th best player in the draft. Yeah. But because you have the 5th pick, you're not going to take the 10th or 11th best player in the draft that might make your football team actually, universally better. So I guess basically to argue what you were saying, if it already feels that way in the top 5, aren't I more swayed to take maybe a swing on the 11th or 12th best player in the draft at 5, as opposed to just going, I'm going to use this name, and we're not arguing this now. Oh, Jeremiyah Love is one of the best 3 players in the draft. He's there at 5. Why don't I just take him? When you value like that kind of stuff, running back, safety, versus the value and the importance of getting the cornerback position in the NFL, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, what does the NFL draft boil down to? Is the player you drafted good, or is the player you drafted bad? It usually doesn't matter. Like, nobody is going to remember 4 years down the line, 3 years down the line, when they start looking at draft classes and evaluating draft classes, and you take screenshots of Pro Football Reference and fans on Twitter debate the merits of a GM. You're not going to remember, man, the Giants really needed a cornerback here and they took somebody else. No, you're going to remember, you're going to look at and judge the draft classes on, are they a good player?
Right.
And are they a bad player?
Especially because your roster after this draft, like the next 2 years, can look completely different. That's why you don't draft to the players necessarily on your roster, except for the quarterback position, let's say, because, right, like anything could change. Like if the Giants took Caleb Downs, I get more on that in a second. Like they have Tyler Nubin and Javon Holland. Both those guys could be gone in a year. So that doesn't necessarily matter.
The reason why I bring up this point of having the 5th overall pick this year may not be as sexy as compared to previous years is because I feel like this with Delane. Like, okay, I even liked Quinyon Mitchell as a prospect more than I like Delane. And Lance Zierlein on NFL.com, lo and behold, his player comparison, his player comp was Quinyon Mitchell. And man, do I not see that. Not at all. I think Mitchell was longer. Can easily check that. Delane's got arms that are 30 inches long. I think Mitchell's arms are longer. Quinyon Mitchell is known for his straight line speed and his overall athleticism, where I think Delane is much quicker than faster.
But I like that, just real quickly to counterpunch back here. I like that because I feel like when receivers are trying to shake you a little bit, your quickness in that step is going to help. And then also where I think Delane's a little better than Quinyon Mitchell is there was like no grabbiness from Delane at all. I think he was one of the least penalized players in the freaking nation, which is important at corner.
Yeah. And he's smart when he does grab. Like typically he is really good at like the hiding inside like the guys like back pockets and kind of grabbing like behind in some areas that officials may not see or they may not flag. If you're just right there, it kind of like hold the back of the jersey. Some officials may call it, but he does get handsy, but I think he does it in a very smart and responsible way. So Delane's 22. He has 40 career starts, 0 penalties, 0 touchdowns, just 2 20-yard receptions allowed in 2025. I mean, he barely allowed catches. I think in the top 5, had one of the best like receptions per snap rates in the nation. Big problem that I have is 30-inch arms. That's 10th percentile arm length. And even Quinyon Mitchell was 31 inches, and that was like in the 30th percentile rank. I don't think that just shows up in coverage because Delane does make plays on the football. He makes a lot of plays on the football, and he's really smart when he does it.
Not Deontay Banks.
I think as a tackler, it's harder for him to get guys on the ground, especially when your arms are short and you're trying to reach for guys in the open field, and you have some of these longer receivers that are just going to kind of put their hands out in front of you. I think that's where it's really also going to show up. But he is a very smooth football player. Light feet, loose hips, incredible change of direction, glides and makes things look easy. He's fluid and has the technical polish to mirror complex routes down the field. Again, knows how to stay in the back hip pocket of receivers, more quick than fast. And where the long speed shows up, Shaun, it isn't just, all right, I'm running a go ball down the field. But I watched KC, how do you say?
Concepcion.
Concepcion.
Might be my favorite player in the draft.
I love him, man. But I was trying to watch, like, all right, you're going to be facing a bunch of KC Concepcions every single week in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to watch that Texas A&M LSU matchup. And how I saw KC beat him was on drags and crossers, kind of like over the middle of the field. And it's not that Delane necessarily gets beat at the release because he has such patient feet at the line. But as the play goes on, he is struggling keeping up down, as the play goes on and as he's running to drag across the field. And that's where I feel like he kind of loses, and that's where I feel like the long speed really hurts him. So between having questions on long speed and 30-inch arms, which I really want my corners, like 30-inch arms, in my opinion, is the minimum. It's the threshold. But if we're talking about a guy that's in play and a possibility for pick 5, while there's a lot of good things here, I don't know if it's enough to convince me that pick 5 is the best. The advanced stats are really good. Mm-hmm. There's so many good things there. But I just have such a level of expectation for the prospect that I want at pick 5. Delane has enough questions for me where I think I would go elsewhere.
Okay, and for the sake of not really continuous, because we have 4 other ones going and these are meant to be mini debates, I would just leave it here. I respect your answer, but how about this? At what point, if the Giants were offered a trade back in the draft, would you be willing to take Mansoor Delane in a spot?
It's a different story.
That's why I'm just asking you, where do you think is fair? Like if they traded back to what?
He's on the consensus board right now at 10, and that's around where, like, as long as Carnell Tate, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, as long as those guys are off the board, then we're having a different conversation.
Okay. And again, I'd rather Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, and more on that in a second. Yeah. Not to get the last word, but this is kind of inherently always my problem. If we're willing to take him at 10, I don't get passing on him at 5 if you think he makes your team that much better. But I also understand the other point. All right. Anyway, yeah. I also said something I just want to clean up real quick before anybody tweets at me and I get all the everybody screaming at me. When I say KC Concepcion is my favorite player in the draft, it doesn't mean I think he's the best player in the draft. It's just a guy that I have a feeling is going to be a really, really, really good NFL pro. Not sure what his ceiling is.
I think people get that.
Yeah, that's all. It doesn't mean top 5 clearly because he's not. But like if they took him in the second round, I'd be thrilled. All right. The number 4 debate that we will undoubtedly have in the month of April with Giant fans is this. Is number 5 too high to take a safety when it's Caleb Downs? Now, obviously, history will tell you that safeties simply don't go in the top 5 of the draft. This was much debated in New York when the Jets took Jamal Adams as high as they have. But the counterpunch would be, I keep saying counterpunch. What the hell's wrong with me today? The counter argument would be, as Justin alluded to, this is not the greatest year to have a top 5 pick. So much like Jeremiyah Love has been debated in the running back idea, Caleb Downs could simply be the best player in the draft. And in a draft like this, all rules go out the window, and that's why you can take a safety top 5. Justin, where do you stand?
He has fallen in the consensus board a little bit to like 9.
I know.
It almost feels like the hype behind Sonny Styles and the hype behind Caleb Downs, it has flipped.
Yes. Yeah.
In season, you had the consensus opinion and belief on Caleb Downs is now the consensus opinion and belief of Sonny Styles. which is kind of crazy. So like what changed is kind of like my overall question. I don't know what changed.
Oh, I think two things changed. Number one, there was that report that appears fake, but at least I think raised eyebrows with enough people to do a little digging on where it came from, which was the idea that he has like some kind of degenerative knee thing that could be an issue in about 5 years. I don't know if you saw that, but then like his team came out and said that's completely not true. But I think on a consensus board, slotting him back a couple spots, that and the other argument that teams and I guess draft Knicks have, which is this, a safety isn't impacting enough of the play down in and down out. So when you're doing that and you're trying to come up with a consensus board, does that also knock them back a couple pegs because it's safety?
Yeah, again, like I'm not even viewing it like that. I'm just viewing
as just the player, straight the player.
In this draft and in any draft, again, it's about just getting the player right.
Okay, and this has been my argument with Caleb Downs. If you told me Caleb Downs was no doubt Kyle Hamilton was not a top 5 pick. But looking back, like you said on the last argument about, hey, you just care about good players or whatever. If we said the Ravens spent the 5th overall pick on Kyle Hamilton, would anybody call it a bad pick?
No.
Okay. That's the way I look at it too. So I for one, I'm going to tell you right now, if the card gets turned in and it's Caleb Downs at 5th overall, I am going to be excited about adding that kind of player to this Giant defense, personally.
Yeah, I will too. And, elite production for 3 years at 2 different elite schools and a full-time starter for all 3. I think he's the smartest player on the field, dominating for years at both Ohio State and then his freshman year at Alabama. 3 different defensive coordinators in 3 years too, I might add. Advanced understanding of route concepts and processing. He's a disruptor near the line of scrimmage. Really shows up in the run game where he creates a ton of negative plays. He has saved countless touchdowns as the last one on defense once runners get to the secondary level. Plus, reliable physical tackler. He is a little bit of an ankle diver. That's like a term and a phrase that that's not like a scouting phrase. It's like just somebody that I feel like you see corners all the time. If they're diving for ankles, not really wanting to use their shoulders. So Caleb Downs is kind of more or less an ankle diver, but he is really good at it. And I do think it is an art that, especially if some of these lighter guys, if you don't want to use your shoulders and fully wrap up sometimes, go and be an ankle diver, and then the rest of the defense can come and kind of help you out. That is the way to go for some guys if you're really good at it. Some guys aren't good at it. The only question that I have with Caleb Downs is he hasn't been tested in coverage a ton. That's my really only question about him, because he's super smart. I think he's going to be a really good run defender. I think he's physical. I think he can use him in the box. I think he can use him deep. But overall, I just haven't seen him tested in coverage as much as I would want to. That's the only question I have about Caleb Downs. At
the NFL level, when considering the asset a team would use to select Caleb Downs, at a bare minimum, he's going to be asked to cover some of the great tight ends when matched up as well in this league, you would think.
And I think he has the tools to do that.
Yeah. But to your point, we haven't seen enough. Okay. Yeah. Do we want to move to number 3? Are you ready?
Let's move to number 3, but I do want to talk about something first.
Okay.
I want to talk about Hims, because today's episode is sponsored by Hims. ED is more common than you think and easier to treat than ever. Through Hims, you can connect online with a licensed healthcare provider to access legitimate ED treatment options discreetly and on your terms. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hims connects you with licensed providers from home with 100% online access and a simple intake process that helps you determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to your door in discreet packaging. This includes sildenafil, also known as generic for Viagra. Available through Hims, up to 95% less than the brand-named version. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/giants at hims.com/giants for your free online visit. hims.com/giants. Prescription required. See website for details, important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark for Viatris Specialty LLC. Viatris Company, Hims Incorporated, is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris Specialty LLC. Thank you for changing the read on me and keeping me on my toes and having trouble pronouncing words.
They heard you were a big Netflix star, Hims. Thank you, Hims. They heard you were a big Netflix star, Justin. That was it. They figured you could handle every script change.
Get it up, baby.
All right, number 3. The number 3 debate that Giant fans are having in April is, should we trade back? And that's going to be very generic, but I do think it's going to come into play in at least 2 rounds, rounds 1 and 2. They may not have a dance party partner in the first round with everything Justin's alluded to as far as a bad year to have a top 5 pick, or maybe they will because a team, I saw Art Stapleton, our buddy Art, he mocked the Rams jumping up because they want to take Carnell Tate, doing something like that. Like, okay. I also think that this is going to exist in round 2, Justin, because I've lived enough of these Thursday round 1, Friday round 2, 3, Saturday all day drafts where you sit around all day Friday and you think about, if you're picking at the top of the second round, who you want. Wow, some really good names fell, right? Every year, good names fall to the top of round 2. And then inevitably, teams make trades out of those spots and they go collect assets. Should the Giants do that if they don't make a trade in round 1? Should they do it even if they're staring at the obvious answer to a pick at pick 37 in round 2? Would they do that?
I mean, so if the debate is trading back and if they're going to do it, I think they're going to.
Yeah. Them not having a third round pick makes it so obvious.
I think they're going to. I will admit, I looked at some recent second round NFL trade backs over the last couple years. The Panthers and the Rams. Rams traded up to get pick 39. The Panthers traded back to 52. And actually, this was one of the better ones. Number 155, and then a 2025 second. So they got an additional second round pick.
Okay.
So that was one of the better ones. Some of the other ones make me feel like, So the Eagles got number 40, number 78, number 52. But then the Commanders also dealt number 50, 53, and 161. So that's kind of just...
That's a wash of just kind of alternating picks.
It's kind of a wash, right? The Packers and the Saints. The Saints got pick number 41. Packers traded back to 45 and got 168 and 190 in return during the 2024 draft. So that's not necessarily, you move back 4 spots. It was not recouping another top 100 pick within that.
Yeah, the Giants got to get another top 100 pick out of this. That's the bottom line. If they're moving back, that's the point of it.
They're going to have to move back quite a bit is the point. Like something similar to what the Panthers and the Rams did. Because I went through, again, some of the other trade backs over the last couple years in the second round, and it's been kind of rare to see, all right, well, we're going to move back from 37 to 45. Are we really going to recoup if we move back 8 spots in the second round, another top 100 pick? That's kind of how my brain has been operating this offseason. It may not be that easy.
Yeah, so you'd be maybe looking at the back end of the second round and a back end of a third round type of top 100 if you're doing that, I guess. Or like maybe
even the Giants traded back twice. The Giants traded back twice in 2022, which I love this process. I loved it in the moment. And then even looking back on the 2022 draft class, they wound up getting Dane Belton and Micah McFadden because they traded back twice in the 2022 NFL draft. They traded back twice in the second round. They wound up getting those 2 players. That was very successful, very good. And they wound up getting Wando Robinson out of trading back twice too. So the Giants traded the 36th overall pick to the New York Jets in exchange for the 38th and 146th overall selections. They then moved that 38th pick to the Falcons in exchange for pick 43 and then pick 114. So,
but now
go ahead.
Here's the argument though. Okay, because I have this trade memorized. You bring up adding Dane Belton and Micah McFadden. You're saying that's good. Like, look, that's good value. But this is a team in need of players. Who did the Jets take with that pick the Giants traded out of? They got Breece Hall with that pick. So is it better to have a Breece Hall on your team at the top of the second round? Or is it better to have Wando Robinson, Micah McFadden, and Dane Belton on your team? And that is where the argument and the crux of this comes in.
I think it all depends on... And I don't want to force what your number 1 is, but I think it depends on how many players that you like are left on the board, right? Mm-hmm. If there's that one guy that you have circled and that you're like, oh, we really need this guy. We view this guy as a game-changing guy. We interviewed him, we talked to him, we like what he's about. And if there's one of those guys that are available at your spot, then take him. If there's 4 of them that are available at your slot that you really like and that you'd be comfortable with, then you trade back.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's completely fair. You had to remind me, by the way, of what my number 1 was for a second. I just panicked. I'm like, wait a minute. Where's he going here?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready for number 2?
Yeah, I want to temper expectations. I think that's my overall point as we're talking about trading back, and if that's going to be a debate that happens this month. I want to temper the expectations of, because I had to do this to myself today. Mm-hmm. I think trading back from 37 is the most likely thing that may happen.
So we're in agreement with that.
I would welcome back a trade back from 5 too. I would welcome that, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now, and this includes if Sonny Styles is on the board. And I love Caleb Down. You know that, okay? If we are sitting there on draft night and forget looking at the phone on Twitter and you get the flash up, the Giants have traded the pick on the bottom of that screen, blindly without knowing who they traded with and who they got, my initial reaction is going to be excitement because it is going to feel like the smart thing to do. And you know they're not getting robbed. They're not going to just add a 4th-round pick to move, you know what I mean, to move back at a 5.
Yeah, I mean, most trade backs in the first round feature like somewhat of like a future first.
Right. Okay. And even if they didn't, if they got like that team's 2 and next year's 2 and move back a slot, I probably could be sold on that too. Knowing how much everybody's fawning over next year's draft class in rounds 1, 2, and 3. But either way, I'm going to just look at the Jags the Giants are the ideal team to make a trade back, I guess is my point.
I mean, just look at the Jags and the Browns last year. You know, that was the number 2 pick that the Browns traded away. But number 2 pick went to the Jags, and then the Browns received the 5th pick, the 36th pick, a 2026 first-round pick, and then more.
Yeah.
So
I don't think the Giants are going to get nearly that for the 5th overall pick in this kind of draft, but I understand.
No.
A future first, I mean, you'd be like, oh my God, was somebody crazy?
Yeah. They would have to trade down, I think, at least like 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah. Reed, I'm a big Art wrote about the Rams potentially. He had the Giants get a ton. All for the Rams to get Carnell Tate. I'm not sure that happens, but either way, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2. Here's a little spoiler twist in Fanatics Fivo. Number 2 is not number 1 as people would expect. My number 2 debate fans are going to have in April is going to be simply Jeremiyah Love in round 1. And it's kind of weird because this has already been debated ad nauseum for what feels like a month, Justin. But this is not the number 1 debate for me. This is number 2. It's something that we have already done a bunch. I'm sure we're going to do a bunch more. So maybe I'm kind of being an oxymoron or just a flat out moron here by not making it number 1. But it's the great running back debate. And just like we talked about with Caleb Downs and values of safety, Jeremiyah Love, Joe Schoen, and John Harbaugh both flat out answered questions on him today. Harbaugh basically calling him a great football player. Shane talking about how this is a different situation when Saquon was a free agent. It feels like maybe more Giant fans are talking them into this being a good thing because they just would rather be ahead of accepting reality if it does happen. I'm still staunchly against it.
He is sick, though.
Okay. Great.
He's a sick player to watch, man. It's almost like watching Le'Veon Bell with his patient feet. That is the thing that stands out the most to me. His patient feet and how he sets defenders up, and you know he's about to set the table, right? Setting up that picnic table, and then man, he just rips that tablecloth right underneath, and he's able to pounce and he's able to go. It's like watching Le'Veon Bell and his feet on times 2. That's almost like what it's watching Jeremiyah Love. So he's a sick player, but I don't know if I can't. I'm not going to talk myself into that making sense.
Again, different year, different world. Maybe I can. And here's the thing about Jeremiyah Love and the beauty of this, folks. Every year there's a Jeremiyah Love. Every year there's not a Caleb Downs. Every year there's not a Sonny Styles in terms of a guy that you could debate taking that high at that position. Every year. Last year was Ashton Genty. We pick the insert unbelievable running back here and have this debate depending on who you are with. If you're not against taking a running back in the first round and you think it could really help the Giant offense, all I would say is, let's just say next year the Giants have a much better year and they're picking 18th. You don't think that there's a chance next year with all the quarterbacks that are coming out, the Jeremiyah Love of next year's draft isn't available at 18 where the Giants are in a better spot to take a running back? You're never doing that next year if you take Jeremiyah Love. And I'm just projecting. I don't know who that guy would be. Don't ask me to name names. I'm just saying, don't tell me there won't be that kind of guy, because every year we have this debate about the best running back in the draft. And I think Jeremiyah Love is very good. And I'd root like hell for him if he was a New York Giant. But the Giants they're not quite there yet to do this. They're just not. And again, could he make the offense more explosive? And I totally hear all that. And I'm not even including the Scatterbu Tracy stuff. I don't know how you objectively look at the Giant roster and think that's just a smart use of the resource. And if he is worthy of the top 5 pick, if he is worthy at 5th overall, don't you think another team would look at this and go, this is this special a guy, there's nobody close, that I would move up a few spots to take him? If the Giants aren't getting any trade calls in Jeremiyah Love either, isn't that kind of telling what the rest of the league may think in terms of the value of taking that running back?
It seems like we go like every other year
with a running back,
where like you'll have like the either the one running back or there's like 2 that like headline a class, right? Like It was Jahmyr Gibbs who was taken 33rd, I think.
No. Jahmyr Gibbs was a first round pick.
Oh, excuse me. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, who was taken by the Lions.
They had 2 first-round picks, though. That's the caveat.
Who was taken 8th by like the Falcons.
There you go. But remember this: when the Lions took Gibbs, they had 2 first-round picks. It made it easier to stomach.
Say that again.
When the Lions took Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round, they had 2 first-round picks that year. It's easier to stomach taking a running back in the first round who's been good for them if you have multiple firsts in the same draft.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like every other year. That's the trend that I'm seeing right now.
Last year, Ashton Genty, oh man, how smart the Raiders are. They're picking number 1 overall after doing that last year.
Yeah. I also really hope internally that, like even Joe Schoen said, like, oh, the roster's in a completely different spot than where it was at when they were looking to pay Saquon Barkley as a free agent. Is it?
They were coming off the playoffs.
Is it?
Yeah.
I understand the pieces, right? This comes back to this dumb debate of pieces. What do they mean, and do they actually lead to winning football, right? I understand you have Malik Nabers. You didn't have Malik Nabers. You have Jackson Dart on his rookie contract. You didn't have you didn't have a quarterback on their rookie contract back then, right? I understand all these things, but this is still a football team that won 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. They were coming off of a playoff appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had Leonard Williams. They had Xavier McKinney. Are we sure the defense is that much better right now? And I love Brian Burns and Abdul Carter.
Yeah. But Jeremiyah Love is sick.
He is. Also disappeared at times in the playoff games 2 years ago, too. I mean, he's not a perfect player either. But again, the point of this is things we will debate. This is not the last time Jeremiyah Love is going to be mentioned on Talking Giants over the next month, I can assure you. Okay, Justin, let's get to the number 1 debate I think Giant fans will have, which is simply forcing a guard or a D tackle pick on day 2 because of free agency. The Giants did not address D tackle at the point of recording. They still have not brought back Greg Van Roten or son Kevin Zeitler. And there was a time in 2023 where, again, it ended up matching and up fitting. They had to take John Michael Schmitz at center because they did not have one in round 2. And as it's setting up right now, Justin, I don't think they would do that with the 5th overall pick. In round 2, if they don't sign a guard or if they don't bring in another D tackle, doesn't it kind of feel like they're going to be having to swim in those waters again, where maybe they pass on a KC Concepcion, maybe they pass on a corner that could help them because they literally need a guard or a tackle? Should the Giants force that in round 2 if they don't sign?
The thing that you hope, I took a screenshot of the consensus board from pick 27 to 47. Here are the guys that I would like and that I know and I have somewhat write-ups on that would work at defensive line or interior offensive line. Caden McDonald, who I think is going to go in the first round, I'd strip if that were to happen in the second round, right? Caden McDonald, defensive lineman from Ohio State. Kick-ass run defender. Caleb Banks, defensive lineman from Florida. He's 36th on the consensus board. Emmanuel Pregnon from interior offensive line from Oregon. Older prospect, but I really like him.
Okay.
Chase Bisantes from interior offensive lineman from Texas A&M. I don't have a write-up on him, but he is on the consensus board at pick 42. Lee Hunter, nose tackle, interior defensive lineman from Texas Tech. I would be happy with that pick. He is a strong dude. And then Kristen Miller, who is a defensive lineman from Georgia. Again, don't have a full write-up on him, but he's on the consensus board at pick 45. But some of the other players that are around here that I like, KC Concepcion is 32. You also have Colton Hood, defensive back from Tennessee, who I'm iffy on him. Max Ihanachor, offensive tackle from Arizona State. He is a really fun, project kind of player, really big dude. Let's see, Jacob Rodriguez, dude. If you
Rodriguez, if they don't take Sonny Styles, you're all over the place on that.
Yes. So there is a world, and even Chris Johnson, cornerback from San Diego State, who I like. He was down at the Senior Bowl. Didn't really stand out down in Mobile, but I like him, and I like his film, and I like some of his advanced stats.
But do you say, okay, so, Justin, just before you finish, just think about what you just rattled off. You rattled off a couple corners there. The wide receiver we talked about, Jacob Rodriguez, is available. I say this to say, if the Giants go and take Jeremiyah Love with a running back at the 5th overall pick, and they are still very flimsy at D tackle and guard. I know you ripped off a couple guys you would like. Do you see what I'm saying, though? Come round 2. They're going to feel like they have to force the issue with guard or D tackle, where maybe you leave another playmaker in the defensive backfield or at wide receiver off the table. It's a better player where they're picking, and that's a fear. So that's why number 2 and number 1 in my Fanatics Fivo here are kind of connected. But as it stands right now, I just think we're screaming towards another John Michael Schmidt situation. Now, you could take an awesome guard or a D tackle. It seems like there's going to be some D tackles there that work out. Hopefully. And we go back to when the Giants used to take a D tackle every 3 years in the second round. Maybe that works out. But I just don't want to have to feel forced. And it kind of feels like right now we're going to be in that spot.
Yeah, you hope. You hope that the need marries the value. And if you get a Caleb Banks there, if you get one of those guys that I listed there, if you get a Caden McDonald, if he somehow falls, then that's the perfect dream scenario. But then if those guys are off the board, and like we mentioned, some of those other guys are on, that's a very, very different story.
Yep. Difficult spot to be in. And they've put themselves in that spot. But by all means, the roster's better than it was in 2023.
It's crazy how much better I would feel if they simply just added Calais Campbell and just, even if it's Greg Van Roten, just do it.
Greg Van Roten and Shelby Harris.
I would feel better.
Yeah. Right. Then we don't have to have the what ifs. We just at least know those bodies are there. Yeah. We got Joe Shane telling us we're light on cash. We'll figure it out. You only just released freaking Graham Gano. By the way, congrats, Graham Gano. Great career with the Giants. Good first 3 years. Sorry what happened the last 3.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
It's not his fault.
But I was doing I was counting how many games he appeared over the last 23 games over the last 3 seasons. Is crazy.
It is crazy.
And we just allowed this to happen.
Andrew Thomas has appeared more.
Huh. Good point. All right. That's an episode. Oh, he failed his physical.
Gano?
Oh, no shit. Yeah, no shit.
When has he passed one in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Either way, fun Fanatics 5-0 episode here today, Justin.
Fun Fanatics 5-0 episode. We're going to do a mock draft eventually, and that's going to be soon. May even be next week.
Don't mock us when we draft it.
We'll see. I also want to do a different... I'm going to end this episode in the next minute because I want to keep it under an hour. I also want to do different mock draft scenarios on this show with you.
Okay.
Where we have a set what we're going to do at 5 or at 37, and then what does the rest of the draft look like after that?
Okay, that's cool.
Instead of just doing, okay, well, it's a mock draft, how do we make it different, and how do we force ourselves to take different players and go different scenarios? That was my idea.
I like it. Thank you, dear, for that idea.
Thank you, dear. All right. We'll see you when we see you. Happy draft month.
It starts today. Let's go, Giants!